This week we've been reporting on the inflation number. The RBA meets on the 2nd of May. Is it inflationary though? We know that every dollar in this is going to be spent. It's not like the people we're talking about are going to be able to put any of it aside. It's all going to be spent. So does that inflationary component need to be factored in by Jim Chalmers?
Look, there's certainly a balancing act here, and the International Monetary Fund itself has highlighted the need with governments at the moment to be careful about the amount they're spending, and certainly fiscal policy needs to be very tightly controlled. We don't want to add to the Reserve Bank's woes at the moment, that's for sure. But the thing to remember about this, of course, is that it's very tightly targeted at people. It's not like a widespread payment, so I wouldn't be sitting here today advocating, for a $250 or $500 payment to go to every household in Australia. That would be a terrible policy right now. This is a weekly payment. It tends to be less inflationary as a result. It's not sort of that stimulus payment that's a huge injection into the economy. And it needs to be balanced across in terms of the need that is there. The government also has obviously options in terms of how it implements an increase. Now, this problem has come about due to 30 years of policy failing. If the government wanted to outline a process over a number of years to bring this payment back up to being a livable amount, I think that would also be welcomed in the budget. So I think we can accept that there are a lot of things that they're trying to juggle right now, but that doesn't mean that we can ignore the plight of people trying to live on this payment.
The other thing, speaking of juggling, they're talking about is the single parenting payment. It was basically reduced during the Gillard government down from, I think it was 16 from memory, down to kids aged up to 8. There's some pressure on the government to return that payment to single parents. But if job seeker is increased sufficiently, does that make that other debate null and void, because those that move off the parenting payment go on to job seeker anyway?
Yeah, well, it certainly lowers the need. So there's no doubt that in terms of increasing the rate of job seeker would alleviate a lot of the issues facing single parents as their children get older. That payment, that age was actually reduced under the John Howard's government. It was the Gillard government, however, who ended the arrangements whereby people who had been on the payment could stay on the payment. So there's a long history here with this payment, and I think most people could understand that the needs to stay at home, particularly for single mothers when a child reaches 8 and their ability to work doesn't suddenly alleviate. And so there is, I think, a need to consider whether lifting the age with or without that increasing rate of job seeker would represent good policy in this instance. And it's good policy, Kieran, because what it does is it lifts children in particular out of poverty. We know the detrimental effect that poverty has on individuals in terms of their mental health and their capacity, but on children, it is absolutely devastating in terms of their educational outcomes, in terms of their lifelong outcomes. So investing in these families and in these kids and alleviating some of that financial pressure, it makes basic economic sense in terms of if we're trying to really lift future productivity in the economy, it's investing in these children today that makes the economic sense.
Angela Jackson from Impact Economics and Policy, thanks so much for your time and your insights. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kieran.